Hello, it's Bart from Nature Manufacture. This time I will show you our Lava 2023 in overview tutorial. Only the main aspect of the asset, just drag and drop result, just to build something quick. So no deeper information about the asset, just a quick tutorial how to build something nice in a very short time out of the box from profiles. First of all, we'll copy our demo scene number 4, just to avoiding situation that we destroy demo scenes that were provided with our asset. So let's copy it. Now we will change directional light setting, just to get better view over the scene which we're going to build. So we'll put light a bit higher, so bigger shadowed area will disappear and we'll get nice view on the scene. We will remove flakes, splines, particles, every additional objects like light props, reflection props. We'll simply start this thing almost from the beginning. We will also duplicate, copy the terrain data number 4 just to avoid destroying existing demo scene. This will also save us time on adding splat maps and set up all terrain layers. We will just take them from the demo number 4. So we go to the debug mode and we simply replace terrain data number 4 by our copy in terrain data and terrain collider. Now let's go to our terrain to set height option and let's make it flat. So this flat terrain is almost ready. Now we will remove splat data, so just we'll clear the painting on our terrain as well. And yes, we are ready to play with. We will start from high map, so we'll go to Unity terrain, and as you know, we provide with our pack the stamps for Unity terrain. So if we go to the stamp panel, we will choose Volcano stamp at the beginning. We will set up a stamp height, for example 400. We will increase brush size of Volcano in horizontal area will be much bigger, for example 700. Now with opacity we will set up blending with existing terrain. So yeah, let's place this Volcano mountain in the middle of our terrain. The rest of the terrain we will fill with lower mountains, not volcanoes. So we will choose a mountain stamp. We reduce a bit its height. We should increase the brush size so they will look much more natural. And I think beside one mountain near our volcano, we will simply put them on the map border just to hide the horizon. In fact, we could use different brushes with different height and just create nice looking mountain environment. We also could add some smaller mountains around our volcano just to do not leave the flat area. When we finish with high map, in fact, we could now automatically paint our terrain, so we'll get texturing out of the box. For that we create like polygon. With control point we set up few points on our terrain border. This pink material is only a debug mode, so don't worry about that. We will use this like only for terrain painting. So now let's maybe make it a bit more square so it will fit the terrain. So for that we will just change the spline density into value 1. We will adjust the points so they will match the terrain a bit better. When we finish with the like polygon object, we will drag and drop profile for terrain painting, which basically will contain whole information about the rules of the painting, where to place which texture on which slope. If we use Unity HDRP, we will use high blend materials because Unity HDRP support high blending. If we use URP or built-in, we will use non-high blended material because it needs more, the harder transition between the textures. If we simply drag and drop profile and click paint, as we see, we just get nice painted terrain out of the box. We see that one place in our map is not become covered by the like polygon, so let's maybe expand it and paint. You see, it was really fast and easy. Just nice terrain out of the box. The cool thing is that you could use this for painting with multiple splines, for example biomes, so each part of the terrain will have different painting rules and to use different textures, and this is really powerful tool to creating maps. You just get nice world out of the box. Now we'll play with the volcano. We'll create lava lake inside the crater. So for that we click plus and we create lake polygon. We set up the point on the height that we want to have the whole lake. We move it in the middle. Yes. We will now go to the profile and we drag and drop profile, for example profile number 1, and we place in the profile list. And if we will go to the simulation, we expand the check distance, for example to 600 maybe, and we click simulate. We get nice lake in the crater out of the box. If we are happy from the result, we could now maybe make it less generic. For example, we see that it doesn't move, it's pretty static. For that we will go to the mesh painting and flow map painting and adjust automatic flow map in our lake. Automatic flow map could be adjusted. It could be saved on the profile and also change per lake. So if we'll go to the flow map, we could, for example, increase the automatic speed of our flow map. We could change automatic distance a bit to, for example, 100, and we see that our surface start to move, maybe from the closer view. We could use noise or not, but I feel that lake with noise is more attractive and natural. Okay, but there is a cool painter, the manual painter as well. In fact, we could spend more time for adjusting automatic flow map, for example by increasing automatic speed, and we'll get nicer result. But there is a manual flow map painter. I feel that it's the best way to get nice looking flow map. So for example, we'll choose repulsion, we increase the size of the brush, but we will create it more smooth by decreasing blend size. And if we will place repulsion into the middle of our lava lake, we see that the lava start to flow directly from the one point that we paint, and it moves in all direction outside. We see that in debug mode. With smooth tool, for example, if we will reduce the smooth brush size, because we don't need so big, we move the mouse on the lake surface and lava will follow that direction and flow exactly in this direction. It's very cool stuff, I think. The faster you move your mouse, the faster lava will flow. If you will move the brush slowly, it will move slowly. And in fact, this is very powerful, the most important flow map painter tool. Of course, there's a direction or attraction tools as well, but I feel the smooth give you the best result, and it will paint the flow map directly in the direction that you want. If we go to the vertex painter and we change vertex color to white, we could customize our lake even more. If we change the draw color only to G channels, which means basically the medium lava, we could hit the lava lake surface in specific place. This generate nice noise, so the lake become less generic. We also could, for example, paint hotter lavas in B channel, so we will get nice hot spots on the lake. Or we could even paint bigger area by this. With a shift button, we will decrease the power of the, we will decrease the hotness of the lake. So we have plenty tools that will give you ability to play with this lake and create a best natural result. So it will flow in specific direction, it will be hot in specific place, and yeah, I feel this will start looking nice. Cool thing about all this flow map stuff is that we have a debug mode. If we go to show debug, show the flow direction, we click that debug button, we will get nice view on the flow map. Basically, the orange and red arrows means that the flow map moves fast. Yellow is average speed, while the blue arrows or blue dots mean it's slow or it's simply stop. Dots mean the flow map is static. Anyway, flow map is flow map. We should finish our lava crater with our terrain tools now. Our lake polygon in terrain panel give us ability, for example, to remove snow from the crater, or we could terrain carve around the lake. First of all, we choose a profile. We will choose the same profile as we use for terrain painting, but with no snow. Basically, it's copy, but the snow is turned off. Nothing else. And okay, first maybe let's go to the carving. We see that we could, in debug mode, we could check how the crater will look if we will carve the terrain. But in fact, we use simulation tool, so we fill the crater with the lava, so we don't have to carve it anymore. So let's go to the painting and simply click paint button, and this will remove snow from the crater. We set up the distance from the lake, which will be affected by our painter. So for example, if we will set up the blend distance 10 or 20 and we will click paint terrain, it will remove the snow from the lake shape and its border in 20 meters around. So we get nice lake, lava lake out of the box. By the way, this section, this terrain painting panel, also could remove foliage from the lake shape and its border. You could remove grass or trees as you want in a separate distances. Now we will create splines, so we will create a river which flow outside the lake somewhere into the terrain. To do this, we click plus, we create river, we choose 3D object, we create river spline, and we place few points. Of course, we choose a profile first, so let's drag and drop profile into our profile window, and with Ctrl left mouse button we place another point of the spline. We could do this like that, but there is a better way, which called simulation. We simply create another river spline, we set up first point only, we drag and drop profile into the profile window. We increase the river width, so it will be bigger a bit. We choose simulation, and in simulation panel we increase simulation length, for example to 1000, and we click show generated river. Basically this will create a river which is accurate to terrain shape. It will choose the easiest way to flow down, right? But if we click show simulated river, we see that it stopped in one place. It's because the terrain goes up here, and there is a checkbox. If we turn off simulation brake on uphill, our simulation will avoid and handle such a situations. So now let's click show, and we see the river was fine. Let's reduce number of points in our river, so increase the interval of the points. We could again click show simulated river, and after that let's click generate. We simply don't need so many points in our river. Okay, after we click generate, we see the river is generated, but it's crossing unity terrain. I mean, it's higher and lower. There are a few ways to do this. First of all, let's connect the river with the lake. With shift button, we add point just after our point number 0. With R button, we increase the size, the scale of the first point. We could do this locally in every point. Let's adjust the waterfall which go outside from our lake a bit. Yes, let's connect them. But we still have a situation when the spline crossing the terrain. There are two ways to handle that. First, if we go to basic panel, we could, for example, snap the river mesh into the terrain. But remember that terrain have pretty dense mesh. So if we want to match the river into the terrain, we have to increase the resolution of our spline. So we will increase U and V values. So we will get more vets. So the spline will fit better to the terrain under its shape. But this takes pretty big amount of vets. In fact, there is a cool thing that if we will now take normal from the terrain per vertex, we get nice noise on the lava river surface. But the best way to handle this whole situation is simply to carve the terrain. In terrain panel, we have a profile for carving, which is associated with normal, the global profile for our lava. So in fact, first of all, you could replace this profile if you want to, but if you create new river, basically the river profile contain connection to the terrain carving profile as well, so it should be set up. If we click show terrain carve, we see that it will show us a future terrain shape. We could, for example, increase the influence of the spline, how far it will carve the terrain. We could, for example, change the smooth value, which is basically blending between original terrain and this shape which will comes from this curve. And yeah, maybe let's click carve now. So we get nice terrain carved under the spline almost out of the box with really small setup. Remember that if the spline is really complex and difficult, sometimes you have to change the quality of the carving to high. It's slower, but it gives better result. Okay, but let's connect our river with the lake. In fact, we see that the lake is in the medium hot or hot state, while the the river is cold. So let's match these two objects together. So first of all, we go to the mesh binding and vertex color. We will increase draw color into the white color. We choose the G channel, so the medium hot lava, and we simply paint it by marker. So it will fit much better. Now we'll change to B channel and add some hot lava in the middle. And we see now it looks pretty okay. Of course, we could also change the flow map on the lake, so it will move into river direction. So with smooth, we simply adjust flow map, so it will the lava will move directly into the river. Of course, we could spend much more time just to hide this crossing. I'm not sure if this is worth the amount of time to spend, a big amount of time to spend, because in fact there are two opaque materials, and they have different UVs, different direction, and it's very hard to hide this connection. It's not transparent where we have alpha and alpha blending. So, you could always match these two splines just to almost hide the connection, but there will be always small seam. Now let's play with something else. We have a river object, and in fact, if we choose a point, for example, in the middle of the river, point number 10, we could split the river in this place into two rivers. It's pretty easy. We go to the point section, we choose point number 10, and we click split into two. And in this point, we get now two splines. We could replace their position. I mean, if we will go to the first spline and there's a slider which we move, and the river will be connected into the opposite part of the spline. For example, we could add points to the new spline, so it will go somewhere. We could snap this new spline, so it will be automatically match the terrain shape. In fact, if we create two rivers from the mother, there is information that they are connected to the mother. If we click on the mother river, there is no info, but each created child have information that their beginning is from the other spline. In fact, we could connect these two rivers again into one spline in the same way. Let's add some point into the second spline, so it will be close to the ending of the first spline. Let's add some point in the middle by shift clicking. And now let's copy mother spline, just to not set up everything from scratch. Let's copy it in our hierarchy, and let's clean all points inside the spline. So we'll just have a clean object. Let's set up few points just for the splines to create a river. Yes. In basic option, we will change river width so it will match to our object. And now we simply drag and drop another mother river, but not as a beginning, but as the end of the spline. So just take a look. If you will simply drag and drop it, and with slider we set up how the connection will look like, we get simply two rivers connected again. Of course, we could just match the shape of the spline so they will look nice. And we see that if we snap the mother river to the terrain, as the child do, we get seamless connection at the end and at the beginning. I would say magic. It looks pretty cool. Okay, let's leave this river and maybe let's play with something else. There's a new cool feature which is related to lake. First of all, we will create a lake and we will place a profile to our lake polygon. And in fact, now we could create huge, really huge lake, I would say endless sea object at our scene. And first of all, the number of triangles is blocked by maximum triangle amount. Of course, we could increase it, but this will cost a lot our render, because there will be huge amount of triangles to render. But if we, for example, turn on the wireframe mode, we could see the triangles which we get from the lake are pretty big, and there's not much data that we could place on this lake, for example, flow map or vertex color. But first of all, we could, for example, split this lake polygon into submeshes to avoid huge one mesh objects. So if we will look on the object, we see that it has submeshes. This really help a bit in render. We don't have to render everything as a one object, but it's the best solution is to generate LOD. In fact, the system works only at play mode, and it will increase density of the mesh only close to the camera. So first of all, let's turn off everything at the scene, so we'll see only the lake object at our camera, so we could see how the system works exactly. And if we go to the camera object and we will make it close, put it close to the lava surface, and now we'll click play, we see that the mesh of the lake become very high quality, only close to the camera. So if we will move the camera, the density of the mesh will grow. I think it's the best option to create a huge sea or lake object, because in fact we have a whole information, very dense information about the flow map and vertex color, and this information only show up when camera is close to the object. So yeah, this is the new feature. I hope you like it. At the video we show there's a fence tool. So to show its full possibilities, we will create, first of all, spline, a river spline. We set up few points. Actually, it's debug material, so we have to choose, for example, maybe profile number 2. I really love it. I would say that it's the best lava that we made. Let's change the river width, and let's maybe carved terrain under the spline, so we'll have clean situation. Okay, we have river. Now we will create fence object. To create fence object, we simply go to the hierarchy, we click plus, we choose 3D object, nature manufacture, create fence generator. We set up first point and it's enough. We choose a profile for our fence. It will be fence the right border, and we drag and drop our river spline into the other spline window, and we click get point, generate fence, and we have a fence from the river border out of the box. We could add point in the middle as we do with spline, so with shift, and we could regenerate or regenerate fence. We could also bend the mesh. I mean, we not only spawn the river border meshes, but we also bend them to actual spline fence spline shape. So it's very powerful tool, not only for creating river borders, but also to create fence which have bended meshes. Okay, now let's blend our river border with terrain. We simply adjust terrain carving on river spline, so the mesh will simply be close. Terrain mesh after carving will be close and in pretty similar direction like the river border meshes. So let's play a bit with terrain curve and just add just something that will give nice result. And okay, the terrain almost match the river fence border meshes, but we could do something more. If we will paint terrain, so the terrain texture will match the texture on the top of the river border meshes, we could blend it almost seamlessly. So we go to the river spline and we simply set up the texture painting. So the spline will paint terrain for us in the same texture as we have on the river border meshes. We could almost blend this one to one. Let's set up this. Maybe let's change the area that spline will paint, and let's change the power. And after that, if we click paint, or maybe it's too much, let's reduce the additional size, and we see that after we paint terrain close to the spline, it's almost match. The only difference actually is that there is a different, first of all, different vertex normal on the river border mesh and terrain, and there is no baked light. If we will bake the light, this will look much better. So yeah, I think if you will play with this setting, you could get very nice result. And as you see, it's almost out of the box. I told you that you could use river spline with fences, but you could also create lake. Let's create a lake. Let's add some points. Let's choose a profile, maybe profile number 4 this time. Let's go to the terrain and carve it so we have a nice lake. And now we could simply create a fence object in the same way like we did with spline, river spline. And instead of putting manually these points, we could, for example, drag and drop lake polygon into the other spline. We click get points and yeah, let's maybe loop it because actually it's open. We also have to choose a profile like we did before, and maybe let's bend our mesh as well. But it's still pretty square. It's because our spline density is low. So let's increase the spline density, for example, to value equal to, I don't know, maybe let's set up value equal 8. And let's click generate fence. And now we have a nice lake border from meshes out of the box. The funny thing is that if we will move our fence spline point higher and lower, and mesh will stop to touching lava lake, it will become cold. It's because of the shaders that we put into this border meshes. So it's very powerful tool. Okay, but we all the time play with hot lava. Our tools also allow you to create old eroded lava, for example, on this mountain. Why not? For that, we will simply create spline. So let's add 3D object, create river spline, and we will create such an object. we will choose a profile for it. Let's find profiles, as I remember, yeah. And we choose the frozen lava tessellate profile, not the lake, just the river. Okay, here is the river frozen. And if we will set a point on the terrain now, like always with control and left mouse button, let's change the river width so it will be a bit bigger. Yes, okay, it maybe be okay. We also have to change the resolution of the mesh because it will become snapped to the terrain, so it needs that to play to become snapped. And now we click snap and it starts looking nice. But now we will take normals from the terrain into our river, so there will be almost seamless connection. But to be honest, now we should curve the edges of the spline so they will nicely connect with the terrain. So for that, we'll use the set curve for spline, and we see that it nicely connected now. But let's maybe create seamless connection, and let's maybe play a bit with the spline even more, because now it's pretty generic. If we go to mesh painting and we choose vertex color, we should set, of course, color white as a gold color. We will use air channel just to locally heat the lava so it will not so cold. You see, we get nice effect. And if we will use G channel, you see that we could paint sand on the river border. In fact, we get seamless connection. If the tiling on the spline and terrain and the texture is the same, there is seamless connection. That's why the lava is frozen lava is very attractive, because in fact you could add additional textures to your terrain that will represent lava, or it could be path or road, which could be seamlessly blend with Unity terrain. So you don't have to add other textures to Unity terrain. You could just use splines to do this locally. Okay, but of course with Shift and with changing draw air or G channel, we could modify and play a bit with this spline. But if we will hit it locally, like we did now, we could now add particles. For example, distortion soft particle is a particle which was designed just for locally heat the air around such a nice hot places in the cold lava splines. So yeah, it looks natural now. But if we talk about this frozen lava splines, we could do something more. For example, I told you that it could be, for example, road or other object. We could build a cliff border in such a way. If we have a texture limit on our terrain, for example 8, we could add a cliff object in the same way as we did with frozen lava. We made such an example. We just choose a profile. This profile called cliff tessellate. Let's maybe increase the width of our spline so it will be bigger. We also have to set the mesh curves, and if we will now snap it, take normal per vertex, we get seamless connection with our terrain. Let's paint the same sand texture on the terrain, and we see that it will match perfectly. You see? So we get another terrain layer which is only locally. You don't have to add additional terrain layers. You could just add the spline. And it's all because of the take normal from terrain per vertex. If we'll turn it off, we see that there is a brightness difference because the normal of the spline is different from terrain normal. That's all. As you could see, you could add terrain layers like that locally without adding the texture to the whole terrain. You could build road, paths, cliff. There's a multiple option which is only limited by your design. So, you could locally hit this lava. Also, this cliff could be locally hit if you want to, but it's all about our shader. Anyway, I think if we create frozen lava river, we could also create frozen lava lake. Why not? In the same way, we go to the other part of our terrain. Let's create lake polygon. So let's click plus button in our hierarchy. We choose 3D object, treat lake polygon. Let's set up few points with Ctrl and left mouse button. With Shift we could add points between points. Let's drag and drop profile for our lake polygon, maybe frozen tessellate number 3. And yeah, if we want to snap into the terrain, we rather should decrease maximum triangle size so it will get more verts. Terrain is resolution about half meter, so we also set triangle size half meter. Okay, but wait a moment. We could also carve the terrain under the spline. So if we go to terrain, we click carve, we have a nice frozen lake object in our terrain, and the connection is pretty nice. You see that as it's the select object and terrain is crossing our lake object by height, it creates a pretty nice effect and without any sand on the border. You see? Yeah, it looks pretty natural. The same like with river, we could customize the lake mesh by vertex color. So let's change the color of the painter into white and let's choose maybe air channel. So we will hit the surface locally and let's reduce size and let's hit these rocks. Now it looks pretty nice. You see, you get emissive object on your terrain with emissive shader without changing the whole terrain shading, just because it becomes snapped or it just curved the terrain. Of course, like I told you before, you could blend it also by sand texture, but remember that the seamless effect you will get after you bake the light and after you will take normals from the terrain. So let's take normals from the terrain, and it's still small brightness difference because we have to bake the light, because the shape of the lake not become snapped to the terrain as well. Anyway, we could customize this lake polygon even more. Just we could place more sand into the middle of the lake, so just paint the sand in the middle, and we see that the sand also can be hit. It's heated, it's emissive. Anyway, it's all because on the material, the second layer is the same, use the same texture as we place on Unity terrain. And if it's have the same tiling and it's triplanar or planar, in this case it's planar, it will look nice. Okay, I think about this lake, what we could do more. If we repeat the process which we did with the river, we could also add particles. So let's go to the particles and choose the soft distortion particle. Yeah, let's place it. And we also heat the air around the heated surface of our lava lake. Yeah, is it cool? I think this will really help you in development. But wait, if we talk about particles, maybe let's finish our lava crater with particles. For example, we will choose distortion. It's not soft distortion this time, it will be a distortion particle with strong distortion. We scale it so it will match the crater. I think we will scale it a bit and duplicate it into few places in our volcano, so it will be visible from every direction, and we see that now this is a hot place. Now we feel that this whole lava is really hot and it distorts the air around the lake surface. So maybe now let's, for example, add smoke from our volcano, because if we have a volcano, we need big smoke object from the middle of the lake. So if we will look on the volcano from far distance, we will get nice effect. Let's scale this up a bit, and we see that these particles look pretty nice. They could be affected by wind. We could also rotate it. Yeah, we could really adjust these smoke particles just so they will look realistic. From the other particles that we have, for example, we have something which called lava bubbles. I personally love them because you could see that lava with them could create bubbles on its surface. If we will multiply it few times on the lava surface, we will get pretty nice effect. Yeah, but there are other particles as well. For example, we have lava geysers. So you could place such a geyser on the lake surface, scale it a bit, duplicate few times in a few places. This is not the only lava geyser that we prepared. There is also this one. If you will duplicate these particles in few variants, you will get nice noise on the volcano surface. You see, this one behaves differently from the last two geysers. So we could really create a realistic environment on the lake surface. If you would look on the volcano surface on video, you see that there are multiple geysers like that on different stages. And if you will, for example, add the explosion particle, you could see that beside that it have embers, it also have debris object. Embers are cool, they also detect collision, but debris object, if we'll put a bit higher, we see that our volcano start to throw rocks outside the crater. And the funny thing about these rocks that they use collision, and if they will hit, for example, terrain at play mode, they will smash into smaller pieces. But it only works at play mode because we set special script just to, I would say, expound Unity particle system. So if you will place few such rocks, we will get nice effect that our volcano throw rocks and stones outside the lake. We also have arc geysers, so they not only throw lava particles vertically, but also in the arc direction. The cool thing about all these geysers is that they use collision as well. So if these particles will, for example, meet terrain or rock or other object, it will, for example, become killed or move down or any direction that collision will choose. So yeah, these particles are very cool. To finish our image of the volcano, we should add some more embers object, which also use collision. So like you saw at our promotion video, they could really go outside the volcano and move on its mountain slopes. So yeah, let's place few embers. Let's finish our volcano. There is one object that is missed before we click play, and it's a light object, because if we have a volcano, it's a big emissive lake. Of course, we could bake GI and we get nice emission on the crater borders, but I think we should also add light, and this should be a spotlight. Let's rotate it. Let's first of all place it in the middle of the lake and rotate it, so it will render light vertically. And now we should increase its range so it will highlight our area, maybe even more. I think we could also change radius and angle. Radius is responsible for avoiding too much highlighting of the objects and particles near the source of the light. It's only available at HDRP, unfortunately. If we set up light at HDRP, we have to set up very high value just to create a really emissive and bright object. For URP or built-in, we will probably set up light intensity around 2, maybe 4 or 10. It depends really from the scene. But in fact, if we use HDRP, the light intensity is in millions. After we adjust a bit this light, after we set up some proper values, but proper values mean it really depends from the scene and its lighting. For night scene, maybe you don't need such a strong light like for day scene. But remember about that the best result with spotlight and any other light you will get with mixed or baked mode. But if you will use baked light maps and baked light, you need pretty big resolution of light map at the scene, because to get nice effect you really need this. In fact, if you will click play, we see all the particles in action in the same moment, because only VFX particles could be rendered at scene view. In game view, we could see all particles running together. Pretty nice effect. But we could also, for example, play a bit with directional light at the scene. If we will move it to lower values again, we get nice sunset scene with Volcano. We could, for example, create night scene from this, and it also look very nice. You see, pretty complex scene was built in about an hour, and it was just drag and drop into the scene without spending much time on setuping. Everything is almost out of the box and looks pretty nice. Even at day or night scene, it doesn't matter. In fact, I will show you maybe how this run and change lighting at real time, because you could change the whole lighting in real time in HDRP and it still look fine even without baking. Let's visit few places that we built during this tutorial and change lighting on it. First is the lake, which we built, and as we saw before, it works pretty well with different lighting. Here's our other lake with fence borders, and it also looks nice even at their night scene. This is our lake which we built with frozen lava, and it also behaved nice. I think yeah, it's all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you will play with this lava even more than I show you with this tutorial, because the whole system have potential to be used in really many different cases, and you really could build nice scenes not only related to volcanoes with this. Okay, that's all. Bye.